Start. I'm sharing my screen. Yes. So yesterday we were talking about like what are the different control statements that we have. So as part of that, we have just discussed about selection statements. So today we'll be discussing about like switch statements and iterative. Then after we look into the jump statements. Okay. So are you clear with the content that we discussed yesterday about like control statements? Do you have any questions for me, guys? So please practice and let me know if you have any doubts. Okay. So today we'll be discussing about like switch statements. Okay. Or how do we use the switch statement and what are the different ways of using the switch statements. Okay. So here I'm going to open this screen. So what is the syntax of switch statement is like? You have a switch, and after this, we have a case defined. Okay. So case and the statements. So if this case matches, then we are going to see the statements. Okay. So like this, we have this cases defined. Statements. Then finally, we have a default. We'll discuss about like what are these things and what are the different ways of using the switch statements. Straight, default. Okay. So this is the syntax of switch statement, switch, and finally we have to close this. Okay. So based on this condition, whatever condition or integer, whatever value that we are passing as part of switch, so it will check for that particular case. Okay. So it can be anything like it can be like, it can be a condition. It can be an integer or it can be any of the value that we are passing as part of it. So it will check for that and it's going to execute the set of statements based on the cases. Okay. So it will check for the particular case and will execute that. Okay. So sometimes we call it as like alternate to the if else, but there are other things that we can achieve through the switch statements. Okay. So we'll take the basic example. So here I'm going to create a separate method for this, public void switch test. So here switch is a keyword, reserved keyword. Okay, reserved keyword, few keywords that we cannot use as part of variables or methods name. Okay, so those are like switch, while, to, for. Okay, so int. So this we cannot use it. So whatever things which are highlighted in this maroon color with the bold, so those are like reserved words. We cannot use them as part of what, like if we want to create a variable, we cannot use variable name like void public switch. Okay, so you have to give something else apart from that, from the reserved words. So here we are going to take one switch. For example, int is equals to 10. So I'm just taking some value, integer is equals to 10. So here I'm going to write a switch statement 10 and the case. This is the case I'm going to write. So value of A is, so here it is 1. Okay. So I'm going to write this cases. Just I'm going to change the name of it. So let me just do one thing. So here I'll write it as like 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. So let's take 5 values and then I'm going to remove this. So again, later we can look into that. So here, what is the value of it? So it's 2. It's 3. It's 4. It's 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just losing this brackets, right? Let me just put it in this way. So after alignment, I'm going to change it. Okay. So they are aligned properly. So now you can see what is the value of this, like based on the case. Okay, so here I'm giving int a is equals to 10. Okay, so let me give 5 and execute this program. So what I need to do is, like, for the execution, I need to have the main method defined, right? So main method is the starting point wherein JVM will look into that. Look for this main method and it will start executing. So I'll say switch example equals to switch. After that, switch example dot switch test. Okay. So observe carefully, guys. What is it going to do is, like, so I'll write another one is like, yeah, default. We'll discuss about the default in next cases. Okay. So next execution. Switch statement. Oh, sorry, 10 we don't have, right? So that is the reason why it was like not able to find out the value of 10. So I'm giving like here now. So now I can see what is the value of A is 5. So what is it doing is, like, it's just taking this as like a parameter for the switch. So based on this parameter, it's going to select check the value of it cases. Okay, case A, like this is a case A. Let us select case A, case A, case A like this. But we are passing the value here to match the value of the value which we have passed as parameter to this switch. Okay, what is it going to do is, like, it will check for these cases. A is equals to 1, no. A is equals to 2, no. A is equals to 3, no. A is equals to 4, no. A is equals to 5, yes. So it will print this statement. So that's nothing but this case is passing. That's nothing but the value, whatever we are passing as a parameter, it's going to check against that value. Okay, so here you can pass the integer variable, or you can directly pass the value of it, or still you can have some other characters defined. Okay, so we look into those characters and strings. How do we define them? But here, so this is how it will execute. Okay, it's kind of like simply if statement. If A is equals to 5, if A is equals to 1, A is equals to 2. Likewise, it's going to do this if else cases. Okay, if else if cases. So to alternate, to define the alternate for this if else if and if else if, so we can use this switch statement. But what are the other things that we can perform as part of this is, like, now if we have to consider some cases like which are like, I want to find out, like, which part of this month falls into the quarter. Okay, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. So how do we define that? In that cases, it is quite difficult in case of if we are going with the if else statements. Okay, so we'll look into that little later. But now the basic syntax is, like, we have a switch statement defined here. We are going to pass the parameter. That parameter, it's going to check against the cases that we have defined. If it is passing, then it will execute this particular statement. Okay, so now what we do is, like, we are going to put this value as, like, observe carefully what is it going to do now. So it's executing. Now you see 2, 3, 4, 5. But which case is passing? So this case is passing. But why does this cases are being executed now? Is like after every true statement. This is nothing but your true statement. Okay, true kind of case which is matching with the value that we are passing as parameter. So after this, what is it doing is, like, it's trying to, like, it will ignore these cases and it will print whatever we have, like values or statements that are part of the other cases also. So for that reason, what we need to do is, like, we have to break this statement. Okay, else we can come out of the switch loop using the break. Okay, so this is called jump statement. Okay, so this is called jump statement. This statement, what it does is, like, it's going to break the switch now. So it will not allow other cases to execute. Okay, this should be applicable to all the cases. Okay, so let me write these things here. I'll just change the value of the A, which is defined as part of test. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. Okay, now see the difference. Another one is, like, we'll write. Okay, so we'll do default. What is default and all? Let's explain. I see we got only one value. So what is this? It is matching this A value, the case 2, and it is executing the statement, and after that it's breaking. If you don't put the break, what happens is, like, it will execute the next statement also. It doesn't find any break. You can see 0.3. Okay. So we need to use this break statement for this reason. The other thing is like now the value is like I'm putting some value 20 here. Okay. So I'm executing this program. So execution is completed successfully, but the thing is like no case is matching. In that case, what we have to do is like we have to write one default. Okay, one default case to specify the user that this value is not available. Okay. Value not defined in any of the cases. Okay. So now go and execute this and you see the default value. Because this is not matching with any of the cases, so it is just giving some details like in the default case. Okay, this is like default case wherein it's going to execute this. So this is like basic example of switch. I'm going to put some value here. So when you execute this, you'll get the value which is defined as part of cases. This is fine, but there are some certain things like I want to find out. So if I give the week, for example, mid of the week, I want to find out like early of the week. So what? How many days we have in a week?
7.
7 days. Okay. So how do we define now? Like I want to find out which is like I'm just splitting this weeks as like I'll say early days. Early of week. Okay. Early week in the sense I'm going to consider Monday, Tuesday. Okay, these are the 2 days. We call it as like early. Mid. So we call them as like Wednesday. Wednesday. Thursday. End. Okay. So and let us consider we have Friday. Okay. So and Saturday. So Sunday is like it's like we can call it as like weekend or something. Even Saturday is also considered weekend, but our requirement is like these are the days. If I say like Monday, if I say early days, early week, so it should show me like Monday and Tuesday. Otherwise, so if this value is whatever value we are matching as like with the cases that we are defining, it should satisfy this and it should execute this particular statement. Okay, it should say that Monday and Tuesday are our early weeks. Okay. So how do we do these things now? Is like we have to specify those cases. So how do we define is like I'm going to write a small method public we just write public void find case of week. Okay, this is a small method I've written, but here I'm going to write string day. Okay, just I'm taking some string value here. This is a method, so you have to have the parameter like open and close brackets for this. So here I'm going to specify the case. Case is like day. Early weekdays. Okay. So Monday should fall under this early weekdays. So we have to define here. Provide statement and this one, and this is a class. This is fine. Let us take day as like a string. What we are missing is like we are missing the switch statement. So that is the reason why it is doing this. Okay. So switch day, sorry. So here I'm going to specify it as like Monday. Sorry for this. Okay. So here we should have this. So here I'm going to remove one of this cases. So switch case. And this is what we have to remove this as part of our program. And we have to close the class. Okay. So now all the errors are gone. So here I'm specifying some string. So in this, I'm going to specify like Monday or Tuesday or whatever it is like. So in that case, I should get like, these are the days for the week. Okay. So I'm just writing Monday. Here it is like Tuesday. Here it is like Wednesday. Like Thursday. Friday. And next we have Saturday. Sunday. Okay. So early week, and this is like midweek day, and this is midweek day. And here it is like end of weekday. Just to specify this, okay, what it may be some other content also, and it's like we can say weekend. Okay, so if I define any other thing, it should be a default. Okay, so it should be a default. So default. Node A defined. Okay, so here I'm going to put this content. So what is the requirement here? So based on this day, it has to execute like early week or early weekday, weekdays, early weekday. Okay. Okay. So here if I give Monday, so it should execute this one. Okay, which case will be executed? So this particular case will be executed. Okay. So after this, we have to put the break statement. Otherwise, it's going to execute all the cases after this. Okay. So which are cases passing, after that, it's going to execute all of the cases. So here. So for default, you're not required to break it. So it will already have this last statement that is defined as part of the switch statement. Okay. So let me remove this requirement here. And here I'm going to create main method. So in this main method, I'm going to call. Okay. How do I call it? I'm going to create an object for this class. And let's say that week. Week dot find days. Okay. So find days, I'm going to execute this. What is the value that I've given here is like Monday. So early weekdays. Okay. So, but we have defined the requirement as like, Monday and Tuesday should be displayed as like a early weekdays. Okay. So for this, what I'm going to do is like, I'm just going to remove this. See how I'm going to add another case here is like, okay. So this is one way of doing it. Like, when I specify Monday or Tuesday, here I'm going to specify Tuesday. When executed, it will display early weeks. Okay, so here you can see this is like two cases can be merged. Here you can see the two cases, like you have two cases here. I'm merging it. Okay, so this is also possible. Otherwise, the other way is like we can still go ahead and use this. But what we have to do is like we have to remove this, and here we can break it. Here remove the break. So when you give Tuesday or Monday, so it's going to show up like what is happening to avoid this set of confusion. So still we can go ahead and give it, but the other confusion is like two cases will be executed accordingly. Okay, so what we can do is like we can just use this approach, like we can give two sets of conditions in a single statement. Okay, single case. So now I'm going to remove this So what is that another thing that we have discussed? So Thursday. Just use comma and set the case here. So Friday and Saturday. Anyway, Sunday is like day defined for the yes. Okay. So now if I give any Monday, so it will show me this as like early week. Okay. So I need to break this one. If I give Tuesday or Friday, okay. So I'm going to give Friday here. It will say the end of weeks. Weeks with this. You see end of weeks. So if I give Saturday, okay. But case is not like this. We can still go ahead and use the scanner. So to get the input from the console. Okay. So for this, we are going to write use the scanner class and we'll create object for the scanner class. And then after we're going to take the value. So this day is like, it's a string value. So it's going to accept the continuous character sequence of characters. Okay. So here I'm going to ask user, please enter the day. Please enter the day. So here day is equals to sc.next. Okay. So now you can go and execute this. It will ask you for the day that you enter. Okay. So here I'm going to use Sunday. It will say weekend. Okay. So if I define something which is not valid, let us take, I'm going to give Monday, no day defined like this. Okay. So that what is happening, it's saying that it's no day defined. But what is the approach that we are here using is like, I want to find out early days. Okay. Early days of a week is like Monday and Tuesday, we can say early and mid. And this is like weekends. And we can say Sunday is like weekend of it. Okay. End of weeks and end of weekdays. And this is Sunday of the weekend. So this is the other approach, guys. And the other thing is like, I'll show you the example of find out the quarter. Okay. So first quarter, the four, same thing that we are going to use, but in case of months that I want to find out like which months we have the first, which months will be there in the first quarter. Okay. So say quarter. So here we are going to take the same example. Okay, I'm going to just change few things. Instead of days, we are going to define the months. Okay. So I'm just copy pasting this particular piece of code that we have used. So here I'm going to give enter month. Of month. So here I'm going to take this and here I'm going to say it's month. Okay, so what is a month? What are the months that come as part of like first quarter? Jan, Feb, and March. Okay, so we can say this is first quarter. Okay, so here I'm going to repeat the same case here in this case. So Jan, March, and we have April, May, and June. This comes under second quarter. So next we have this thing here. July, August, and September. Okay. Sep comes under the third quarter. October, November. This is fourth quarter. Okay. No month defined. Okay. So now you see, go and execute this program and see what is the output that we are going to get. Enter the month. I'm going to say July. Okay. So July comes into the third quarter. Okay. Now you can see how the cases are mixed up here. How the cases are mixed up here in this case. So it's like we are just using this particular months and we are trying to return the value. What is that value that we are going to print here? Like we are going to print this value. Okay. So, so this is how we'll be using the switch statements. There are other things that we can do with the switch statement is like still we can go ahead and we can just use instead of this. Okay, so this is another alternate way that we got. This is like recently has been introduced. So here also we can use instead of putting the break statement here, we can use this so that this breaks will be avoided. Okay, only the thing is like you have to use the arrow mark, hyphen arrow mark after that. Okay, so this is kind of like a code reduction that we can put. Okay, so code will be reduced in this case. Okay, we need not to use that. That is like we have a simple syntax here, but yet we can use this so that it will be easy for us. Case and we have arrow mark, hyphen arrow mark, and use the statement here. Okay, statement here. So still we have another ways of doing it. So we can use return. So this should be a string. Oh, we have to change it to int. Okay. So here we can return it. Okay. So in this case, now we are going to return this. Yield is like a yield is kind of like we are going to return this value. Instead of putting this in as like system.out, we can use the yield also. Okay. So this is for all of them that we have to apply. Okay. So here I'm going to copy it and paste for this. So we can return the value also. Okay. We can return the value here. So with the help of this yield. So yield is like it's going to record this particular, that's the thing, but it's going to return this value as a string to this particular switch statement. So what we have to do is like string result is equals to switch of month. Okay. So let me use these things for rest of the. So this is like we have multiple ways of using the switch statement. Yeah. So this is the statement that we have, this is kind of like a function that it's going to return. Okay, so at the end we have to terminate this. So what is this now? So this is the right kind of a result. We have a result here, and this result is like being returned for the cases. So switch case month, and if I define the month here, and it's going to check for this particular case, and if it is like matching, then it will return this particular value. Okay, so let me execute this. Enter. Let me execute something August. Okay, age. Now see third. Okay, so if you don't want to return, so what I'm going to do is like I'm just reducing this code, right? So instead of writing system.output for every statement or writing the break, otherwise you can have the other approach that we have discussed earlier. Like directly you can specify system.out for each and every statement. So if you want to remove the system.out, like you don't want to check and you want to print that particular value, or else repeatedly if you are writing the statement, then you can just remove that statement and you can write the statement at the end. Okay, after completing this particular case, it's kind of like a method. So method, this is a kind of a function which will be executed. Okay, so this function will be executed and it will return the result here. So based on this result, we are printing the output here. Okay, are you clear with this, guys? So this is one alternate for that. Okay, so other one also I'll just put it down here as a separate method so you can understand. Okay, I'll say find quarter 1 and find quarter 2. So here, instead of finding yield, we are going to print the statement. Okay, so I'll just remove this. I'll remove this, and here. Okay, so you can put this bracket. This is optional. Otherwise, you can remove the bracket also. This change has come as part of like Java 17, guys. So after that, we started using this switch statement. So to make it easier. Okay.
Shrikant, does company also uses the same version?
Yeah, it's like all up to us, like whichever version you want to use, you can use. The only thing is like it's all up to the team actually. So if they want to use this, like versions and all, like it is dependent. And other thing is like it doesn't make any difference when we are using the older switcher, like which is already available. And this is kind of like few enhancements. We can see lambda expressions and few expressions are already introduced, right? So as part of like streams, we have a streams, lambda expressions. So these are introduced as part of 17 and 20. Okay. So that is all up to us. Like we'll be learning them as part of the additional thing when we are done with this courses. I mean, like if you are interested, you can go and learn those things like streams and lambda expressions. So these are as part of those things. And coming to the versions, like versions can be anything. So all of this will be available as part of the earlier version, like latest versions. So in the earlier versions, we can still go and use the simple switch statement, whatever we have. This is kind of like a legacy, the older versions. Okay, in older versions you can find this, and newer versions you can use this.
Okay, Shrikant.
So I'm just showing like all the approaches of the switch statement. How do we use them? It doesn't make any sense when you are using switch statement in this way or when you are using in this way. Whichever way you are comfortable, you can use it. But learning new things would be helpful for us, okay, to understand the new enhancements which are made as part of the versions. Okay, are you clear about these switch statements? So in this case, we are returning it. Yield is nothing but it's kind of like a keyword that will be used to return the value. Okay, return the value, whatever value it is, like it is a value of string, it's going to return as a result, and we can print it here. But in this case, we are not returning any value, but directly we are printing. So in this case, we are going to use this arrow mark. Okay, the arrow mark and the statement directly. So if you don't want to use the statement, so here you can use the yield. Yield will be returning the value back. Okay. So this is about the switch statement. So we discussed about all the three approaches of switch statement and what are the ways of using the switch statement. So this is like generic way. This is very generic that we have some values here, and based on these values, it's going to evaluate the case. But here we have like combination of values. Okay. So now it makes some difference with if else, like if else or else if. So in that case, we are not going to define, like in this case, what we do is like we are just using comma, but there we have to specify and operator or something. Okay. Or operator. So we have, that will become like, clumsy when we write the coding. So that is the reason why we need to select the approach, best approach for reducing your code. And it's like reusability and readability should be easy for us. Okay. So these are the control statements that we have as part of like selection and switch statements. So now we are going to look into the different things. Those are called iterative statements. So what are those iterative statements? While, for loop, and for each. Okay, so these are the 4 iterative statements. So how do we use them now? So we'll discuss about them. Okay, so first we'll go with the while. So when there is no defined, only based on the condition you want to iterate the loop, then we are going to go with the while loop. Okay, so for example, if we have main method int is equals to 0, and we have certain condition int a is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, so this is the condition. So based on this condition, if this condition is true, then I'm going to print the value of a. Value of a is, okay. So after this, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to iterate the, like increment the value of a. Okay, so here this is the while condition. If this condition is true, it will execute this statement. Okay, so when do we go with the while? Only based on the condition you want to iterate the loop. Okay, so based on the condition you want to iterate the loop, in that case we are going to use the while statement. Okay, so if it is true, then it will execute this. If it is false, it will come out of this. Okay, so let me execute this program and see what is the value of it. Value of a. They say what is happening now? A is, what is the value of a? It is 0. 0 is greater than or equal to 10. We are putting the condition wrong. That is the reason why it's breaking at the first time. That's nothing but it is false. 0 is greater than or equal to 10. That is false. So it did not execute this. When it is true, it has started executing. 0 is less than or equal to 10. Yes, true. It went and printed the value. Then a value will be incremented. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so till the value is 10, it will execute. Now value becomes 11. 11 is less than or equal to 10. That is false. So it will come out of this loop. Okay, so we can say end of while. So just to understand. Okay, it says like end of while. So this is the use of while statement. Okay, so still if you want to see something like, I'm making it as like a true, then after I'm checking like if there is another thing that we can use the approach. So if this is if a is less than equals to 10, okay, so then you have to execute. Else what we do is like we are going to break. Break is nothing but it will come out of this loop. Okay, always true. So first it will come, this is true. Okay, it will check this condition, it will increment again, it will go and check for this, it is true. Likewise, it will keep on rotating this. Once it is false, okay, when it becomes 11, then what happens is like it will come out of this loop. Okay, let's go and execute this program. You see the same output, right? So this is how internally it works. Okay, so this is how internally it works. So the statement, if I'm putting it here, I'm removing the statements here. Can you see? Execute this. Both of them are same. But the thing is like earlier we put true here and we are maintaining some kind of control statements within the while loop and we are checking for certain conditions. Okay. So this is how the while loop will work. Okay, so we'll see some example programs of while. How do we use the while? For example, I want to reverse a number. So a number is given here. Int some num is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what is the output that I'm expecting is like I should get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, how do I get these values now as a reverse number? So for this, I'm going to take some another variable wherein I want to store in that. Okay, first condition is I'm going to check with the while. While what is the number? Number is not equals to 0. Okay, so this is true condition, right? What is the value of number now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we are going to use two things here. One is like divided, another is like modulus. So division, what happens now? When I use the dividend, what happens? I'll get the quotient, right? Am I right or wrong? Yes, are able to understand what I'm trying to do here is like I want to print the value. So this is a value that I have given as part of like input. Okay, so now it has to reverse that value. Okay, so for this we are going to use two operators. Okay, what are those two operators here I'm using? What are these operators are called?
Division and not.
What are those operators actually? What action that I want to perform? Guys, I am
Division and modulus.
Yeah, you're not practicing. You have to practice. We discussed about arithmetic operators, logical operator, bitwise operator, unary, ternary, and what is that other operator? Assignment operator. So plus, minus, multiplication, division, modulus comes under arithmetic operators. Right, arithmetic operators. So we are going to use those arithmetic operators. Okay. So when I say num, so here what I'm trying to do is like first I should get the value 5. Okay. So out of this, what is the first value that I'm going to get here? Can you guess what is the operation that I have to perform here? So I'm just putting this condition while I'm using while if this condition is like true, then only this will enter into the loop. Okay. So what is that exactly I need to use as part of like I should get the remainder. Okay, let's get into the paint. So what is the value that I am going to have here as part of, okay, let me just take here also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So first I should get the 5 value and I should get 4 value. I should get 3 value. I should get 2 value and I should get 1 value. So to get the remainder, what is that operator that we have to use? Come on. Division. See, int remainder. To get the remainder, I need to use modulus. Modulus of what? 10. So what happens initially here is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0.5. Okay, so 0.5 is like, that is nothing but we are going to get that 5 as a remainder. So this value will be stored in an integer. Okay, because remainder would be storing only what is the value that it will store as part of like when we perform these actions initially? Remainder, right? So remainder is like, what is that value I'm going to get here? Is like 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4.5, that's nothing but this 0.5 will be stored. That's nothing but the value, the last value will be stored as part of a remainder. Now we got the remainder 5 now. Okay, for this is first iterations. See, after that, what I'm going to do is like, I have taken this value, right? Reverse value. Okay, so I'm going to assign some value to it. Reverse 0, then reverse is equals to reverse into 10 plus the value whatever I'm going to get as part of like remainder. Okay. So here what happens is like, what is the value of reverse first? 0. 0 into 10 plus 5. What happens now? Reverse value will be 5. The first value I got it. Then after what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to do the division. Okay. So division, in case of division, what happens is like, and let me write it this way. Okay. So this is, what is this operator we are using? Forward slash is equals to, this is assignment operator. So this is as simple as like num is equals to plus 10. Okay. Sorry, num divided by 10. So this is what it happens normally. Okay. So num is equal to num divided by 10. So here, observe carefully, guys. The first is like I'm using modulus to get the remainder. And here division, I'm going to use this division to get the coefficient. That is nothing but I'm going to get at the first iteration, I'm going to get the value of like 1234.5. Okay. But in case of integer, it's going to accept only natural numbers or whole numbers. Okay. So it's not going to accept any decimal values. So decimal values will be removed. Okay. So decimal, it will remove the decimal value and it's going to, it's nothing but rounding off. It will round off, or else it's going to remove the last decimal values. Wherever decimal values you find, it will not be stored as part of like a integer. Okay. So into data type. So that is the reason why here we get the value as like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what is the the first iteration? The value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So in second iteration, the value becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. In third iterations, it becomes value becomes 1, 2, 3. And fourth iteration, it will become 1, 2. And final iteration, it will become 1, 2. And finally, it will become 0. 0 is not less than or equal to 0. That is the reason why it will come out of it. Okay. So after this, what happens is like when the first iteration happens here, so you'll get the remainder 5. It will be stored in remainder. Okay. So after this, what we have is like, we have a 0 here, which is like, first initially I'm assigning some value as a 0 to the reverse to the reverse variable that I've created. So after that, I'm going to multiply this. Okay. So 0 into 10. So I'll get the 10, 0 here and plus 5. Okay. So you can see this is what I have written for the first iteration. When it goes to the next iteration, what happens now? We have a 5 value. 5 into 10. It will become 50. 50 plus, and the value whatever we have is like 4. It will become 54. After this, it will become 540 plus 3. What is that? 543. And the next iteration, it will become 5430 plus 2. Okay. So now it becomes 5432. Okay. So after this, it will become 54320 plus 1. So finally, we are going to get 54321. Okay. So actual logic is, this is the actual logic. But to get the values, to get the remainder, to get the coefficient, we are going to use the modulus sign division. Okay. So let me print the value of reverse. So it's not only value with only the thing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whichever value you want to give, you can give it. I'm going to execute this program and see what is the output. Got 54321. If you want to see the output here, I'll show you the same. Okay. It's the same. It will happen here. For every iteration, it's going to print the value. Okay. So let's print that value here. So you got this right? 5, 54, 543, 5432, 54321. Okay. So this is how it's going to get the value. So this program will be generally asked in interviews, guys. This is very important to understand the logic. What is the logic that you are applying? Okay. So it's very easy. And the thing is like, what are the variables that you have to consider that you need to check, and what are the operations that you perform as part of reversing the program? That is, the operation is like we are using modulus for getting the remainder. Here we are using some multiplication and addition for reversing, like adding the value, multiplying, adding the value to the reverse, whatever value we are getting as part of remainder. And after that, we are going to use the division to get the quotient of this value. Okay. So this is very simple program, guys. So if you practice this, it will be easy for you guys. So it's not only the value that we are trying to print here. So we can take any value 45, 67, 79, something. So I'll get the reverse of that value. Okay. So what is that? 987,654. 654. Okay. So you can take any value. For example, I'm taking this value so that it will easy to understand. Okay. Sorry, clear with this, guys? When do we use this while statement? So when we have only condition, and based on that condition, I want to execute the loop. Okay. So this is nothing but the loop wherein it will execute till this condition is false. Okay. Once this condition is false, it will come out of this. If it is true, it will execute until this condition becomes false. Okay. So this is the example program, guys. We have a lot of programs that we are going to discuss as part of the statement. Okay. Control statements. And within that, we have a lot of selection statements, switch statements, and we have iterative statements, right? So we'll be discussing more programs on this. So let's go to the next example. Next iterative loop. Sorry. In this, we are going to use do while. Okay, so I'm going to use do while. So we have two things to look into it. One is like there is a do. Okay, so after this, we have it. So to write them in method. So that I'll explain them. What is that and all. Here, it is little bit a kind of alternate to the while loop. Okay? So it'll kind of like, alternate to the while. So while, what is the while condition? If this while condition is true, then it will execute the statement. But here it is like first it will execute the statements, whatever we have defined as part of do. Then it will go and check for the condition. If this condition is true, then it will go and execute this piece of code, whatever written inside the do. Okay. So here, I'm going to execute some statement. Let us take, I've defined a value int I is equals to 0. Okay. Value of I is so here I is greater than or equal to 10. Okay. So here I'm going to execute the value of I is 0. Okay. So first what it is doing, it is executing some sort of statement which is defined as part of do. Okay. So do, here you can see do block. So in this do block, first it will execute, then it will go and check for the condition. Okay. So what I'm going to do is like here, I'll change the condition so that it will keep on executing the value. Okay. So let me just take this and execute. Now you see. So what is it doing now? It is continuously executing because this condition is true. 0 is less than or equal to 10. It is always true. That is the reason why it is continuously executing. This is like infinite loop. Okay. I'll stop it and I'll put some condition here so that I can increment the value of I. Okay. So if I increment this, now you see it will increment the value. I can see what is this it doing now. So it is stopping when the value is like 0 is less than or equal to 10. So what is happening earlier is like it fell into the continuous loop because this condition is always true. To check for some set of statement that I'm writing here so that I want to print the value from 0 to 10. In this case, what I did, just I've incremented the value. So once the I value becomes 11, it will break out of this loop. That's the thing, but it is failing so that it will come out of this loop. Okay. So for this, I'm going to write a simple statement here, end of do while. Okay. So the essence of using do while is like, I want to execute some set of statements before going and checking for the conditions defined in the while loop. In that case, we'll be using the do while. Okay. So, and other thing is like once this condition is true, it will start executing the set of statements which are defined as part of do. Okay. So this is the difference between while and do while. Are you guys clear with this? Yes, no?
Can you please once again tell about the do while?
Yeah, do is like say do while. In this do while statements are kind of a iterative loops. So first it will execute the piece of statement, though it is like, this condition is not meeting, it will execute this statement. Okay, so let me go back to this condition now. I is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so now you see, so for this condition is false, right? 0 is greater than or equal to 10. So this condition is false. If though it is false, it's going to execute some set of statements which are defined as part of do. Okay, so then it will say that end of do while, because this second time it is going and checking. First time it has executed this, and at the second time it's going to check for this condition. So what it does is like it is going checking this condition. In this condition it is like returning false. So it is coming out of this while loop. Okay, so the essence of using do while is like if you want to execute some set of statements before checking the condition, we can go with the do while. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is like I'm going to change the condition less than or equals to 10, and I'm adding some incrementing, I'm incrementing the I value so that it will, when it is true, it should increment this, it should print the value and increment this value. Likewise, it will keep on rotating, keep on keep on iterating that loop until this condition is false. Okay, so here you can see how it has executed. So first the control will come to this do and it will execute the statement. Then it will go to this while and check for the condition. If this condition is true, it will again go to this do and it will execute the statement and do some set of actions here and again go and check for the condition. It will be kind of a continuous iteration until this condition is false. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
In case of while, it is like first you go and check for the condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute the statement. Otherwise, it will come out of this while. Okay, so do while is like do something after check, do something before checking the condition. While is like after checking the condition, do something. Okay, so it is reverse. Are you clear? Are you clear with this? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we'll be discussing about like for loop. How do we use this for loop? So what is the syntax? Basic syntax of for loop is like for initialization, condition checking, and then increment or decrement. Okay, so this is the loop that we are going to use. There are 2-3 things will be done. 3 things will be done in a single statement. That's nothing but first initialization will be done, then checking for the condition. If this condition is true, then it will go and execute the statement, come back and increment or decrement, again check for the condition. So here the condition is like if you are using the for loop, initialization will be only done once, then the condition checking and increment will be done continuously until this condition is false. It will not come out of this loop. Okay, so this is the for loop. So you need to remember, guys, this is like the syntax of the for loop. We have initialization, condition checking, incrementing or decrementing. And here you can see initialization will be done only once. Okay, so we'll see the example for this. So here I'm going to write a main method. I'm going to write a for loop. Okay, for int I is equals to 0, I is less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. Sum out. Value of I is plus I. Now you see, first I'm initializing some value. That is nothing but assignment. Initialization is done here. So assignment is like I'm assigning some value to the I. Okay. After that, I'm checking the condition. So first it will initialize this value, then go and check for the condition. If this condition is true, it will execute the statement. Then again come here, increment or decrement. Then again check for the condition. Then execute statement if this condition is true. So likewise, it will keep on rotating this particular loop until this condition is false. Okay. So let's go and execute this. So when it should stop when the value of I is 11. Okay. Till that period, it should print the value. Now you can see from 0 to 10, it has print. So what is the difference between while and for loop is like while loop, it will check only for the condition. Okay. But we have some defined set of iterations that we want to perform defined set of iterations. Okay. So in that case, what we do is like we are going to use the for loop. Here we have defined set of iterations. See, in case of while loop, do we have any set of iterations here? We are not sure how many number of values that we have in this number. Okay. So it's nothing but we don't know the defined set of iterations that we have to perform. But in case of for loop, we are defining this particular condition. So that is the difference between while and for loop. Okay. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So let's go and print some values or print some patterns actually. Okay. So star pattern or something. I will show you the example. So here I want to print the star pattern. What is the star pattern is like? I should print the first star. In the second line, I should print the second 2 stars. And third line, I should print 3 stars. And fourth line, I should print 3 stars or 4 stars. And after that, so once again, let me just print. Okay. So this is how I need to get the output. So what for this, what I need to do is like I need to use 2 for loops. First for loop is like it's going to iterate the number of lines, and second for loop is like it's going to print the number of stars within the line. Okay, first line 1 star, second line 2 star, third line 3 star, fourth line 4 star, fifth line 5 stars. Likewise, it has to print. Okay, so for this we are going to write a program. So this program will help you to print the pattern. So here what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use a for loop. So first for loop, I'm going to use I is equals to 1, the first line, and how many number of lines I want to print is like I want to print 5 lines. Okay, so 5 lines I plus plus. So once this is done, then I'm going to take another for loop. This for loop, what it does is like it's going to print the number of stars. Okay, so here I'm going to take int j is equals to what is that? I want to print is like I want to print value, that is I is j is equals to 1. So in this case, what it does is like it's going to print 1 star here. Okay, so then j is less than or equal to I, the number of stars that I want to print, and check for the condition. Okay, so after this I want to print this. Okay, system out. Okay. So print would be like printing 1 line. Print L is like print, and after you go to the next line. But print is like it's going to print continuously on the single line. Okay, so that is why we use this one. So here print the star. Okay, so after this, we're going to use this next lines. Okay, so this is going to print the stars in a single line. This is print only will print the particular value on a single line. Print ln is like print the value in a new line. That's nothing but it's kind of like a new line. Print ln is new line. Print is like on a similar line, it's going to print. Okay, so let's go and execute this program and see what is the output that we are expecting. That is that. Saved it. Okay, there is another line that I'm missing. Bracket. is showing up here. So this is the main statement, and this is like, do you have any other things which is, yeah, sorry guys, I need to remove this. That is the reason it is showing the error. Okay. So let me execute this program and see what is the output. We got the output, right? See what is happening is like, this is like, first line. So it is like I is equals to 1. So it started with the first line. And here it's going to check this number of, this is like first iteration. What it does, like it's going to print the lines. Okay. So in here, it's going to print the stars. Number of stars in a line. One line, you can see it's going to take the value I is less than or j is less than or equals to 1, because we want to print only one star. So that is the reason why I'm taking this value here. Okay. So in first iteration, what it does is like, it will take in the first for loop, it does the iterations like, it will start with the lines actually. Okay. It will start with the lines. So first line, it's going to print first one star at a time, because here we are assigning the value j is less than or, we are checking the value here, and we are assigning j is equals to 1, and we are checking the condition here. So condition is like 1 is less than or equal to 1. Yes, true. Okay. So after this, what happens is like, it will print it. When the value becomes 2, then this condition will be false. It will be breaking out of this loop. That's nothing but it will come out of this loop, and again it will go and increment the I value here. So I value become 2 here, and 2 is less than or equal to 5. This is true. Then it will come to this for loop. Again, this is like j is equals to 1. Now j value is like 1. 1 is less than or equal to 2. True. Okay. So it will print first line, in second line, first star. Okay. In second line, first star. Then again, it will go and check for this condition. Now it will increment the j value. J value is like 2. 2 is less than or equal to 2. True. Yes. Now it will go and print 2 stars. Now that's nothing but the second star. Okay. First star is printing, and the second star, it's going to print. After that, again, it will go and increment this I value. I will become 3. Then j is equals to 1. J is less than, what is 1 is less than or equal to 3. Okay. This is true. It will print first time. It will, j value become 2. It will print second star. 3, j value become 3. It will print third star. Likewise, it will print the stars, and it will move to the next line. Okay. So likewise, it will continuously iterate it. Okay. For example, if you want to print 10 lines in 10 stars, then you can see like this, it will print. Okay. Star pattern. This is nothing but star pattern. So this star pattern will print number of stars based on your requirements. Okay. So if
can you please explain that bit difference, that is print and print ln once again?
Yeah, print is like, it will print on the single line. Okay. So it will keep on printing the value of single line. You can write anything here. Okay. So if you want to put dollar also printed in the same line. That's nothing but it will keep on printing the value on the single line. Print ln is like, it will move to the next line. When I put print ln here,
Okay.
now you see it will get disturbed. Okay. So that's nothing but it will keep on printing that particular value in the next line. So it will continuously print this value like this. Do you see the difference here?
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay. So print would be printing on a single line. Okay. So there is the one assignment for you guys to just take it like, I want to get the output in a reverse order. Okay. So in first line, I should get 5 stars. Second line, I should get 4 stars. This is assignment for you. In third line, I should get 3 stars, 2 star, 1 star. Okay. So it's only simple logic that we have to apply is like, I'll just give a clue. You should assign the value, whatever we are getting value as part of this. So those values, that's nothing but here we have put, what is that value that we have put here? 10. Just take this value and assign this value to j. And after that, you can just reverse this condition. Okay. J is greater than or equal to I, and you do the j minus minus. So that's it. Okay. I'll just show you this example. Please practice. Change the condition and this condition. Okay. So I need to remove this. Otherwise it will throw the error. Got it? So it is printing in a reverse order. Okay. So I'll remove this and I'll put it as a reference for you guys. You can refer this and try to frame the logic for printing output like this. Okay, so this is your assignment, and I already showed you like how do we do it. Then star pattern. So I am not going to change the star because I put the star pattern example, right? Okay, so tomorrow we'll be discussing about prime numbers between 2 to 1 to 100 or 2 to 100. And after that, we are going to discuss about Fibonacci series, factorial, and then we'll be discussing about like multiplication table. And then after, we'll discuss about like Armstrong's also. Armstrong numbers, how do we print? How do we check whether that particular number is Armstrong or not? Okay, so those programs we'll discuss. So this is about like for loop, and for each like very simple. I'll just discuss about it and I'll stop. So this is like little advanced. So for each generally we are going to use as part of arrays. Okay. So don't worry and all. What is array and all? We'll discuss in detail. I'm going to show you like how do we exactly print the values with the help of like for each. Okay. So here I'm going to define an array. Array is equals to some value 1, 4, 5, commas. Okay. So these are the values. I want to print the values of this array. Okay. So how do I print? So generally I'm going to use this method. I is equals to 0. I is less than a dot length. Okay. Number of values which are there in the array. And I'm going to print the value. Okay. So a of I. Okay. So when I say, so what I did is like I use this int I is equal to 0, I is less than or equal to a dot length a plus plus, so I plus plus and a of I. So this is like, kind of replace. Sometimes what happens is like if you use some set of logics, in this case, we may get some array out of bound exceptions. Okay. So you can see array index out of bound exceptions because here I'm specifying index out. So there is no value at this I dot length because arrays will start from 0 index. Okay. So the value of this arrays will be starting from the it will store from the 0th index. So that is the reason why it does not have any value at the 8th index. For example, you see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So at the 7th index, we don't have any values. That is the reason why it is throwing like array index out of an exception. To avoid this set of things, what we do is like we are going to use another approach. That approach is nothing but advanced for each. Okay. So advanced for each. So what we do is like we are going to take the data type of data that you want to print. So that is like int B and A. Okay. So now it becomes very easy for us to print the value. So simply go and print of B. It's kind of a shortcut for us. Okay. So what it is doing now, see for int B and A value, whatever we have values in this arrays, it's going to take one at a time and it's going to print the value. Okay. So this will be helpful when you want to retrieve the value from the arrays. Okay. If you just like most of the times we'll be using this traditional approach, whatever approach we have, because if you want to perform some shift operations or rotating the arrays or changing the positions of these arrays or values replacement or checking for the duplicates and all, so we use this traditional approach. Whenever you want to see that value should be retrieved and you want to perform some actions on that value, then directly you can use this advanced for each. Okay, so this is the difference between this for loop, traditional for loop, and we have a for each advanced for loop. Okay, so this is advanced for loop and this is traditional for loop. Let me put it in a simple. So here I'm going to define them. So here I'll create public void traditional transfer. So create them outside of this. I'm going to write object creation. So I'm going to create the object here. Forex dot traditional flow. Forex dot. Okay. So both produce the same results now. I'm just to differentiate it. I'm writing a simple statement so that it will differentiate between them. Okay. So here I'm writing down. I'll execute this. There are some set of errors that we are getting it here. So we need to have one more. Execute this. Okay, you got the same value 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm just creating a separate method so that you can understand. Okay, this method is calling this traditional for, and this method is calling this advanced for. Okay, guys, please practice. This is very important, and you should understand each and everything of the basics. Otherwise, we are going to write some advanced programs. There you don't understand what is happening in and out. Okay, so I'm requesting you guys to please practice on a daily basis. We have a lot of programs that we have discussed so far, around 20 plus things that we have discussed. Please practice them. Okay, so let me know if you have any doubts. We'll discuss there are a lot of things that we are going to discuss here, about like 100 programs, 100 plus programs for every concept that we are going to discuss. Please practice, otherwise it will be piled up. Like, piled up in the sense it will be like huge for you guys to practice at a time. Okay.
Yes, Shikha.
Hopefully everybody has got access to these videos, right?
Yes, got it, but I think